Good day, YouTubers, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from all around the world. Those decorations that we painted up and glued up last week, we got glued on to the back of the stern of the ship. And there were some slots in the hull that these pieces fit into. They had to be adjusted a little bit so that they would go in all the way. And then, because these little statue decorations were sitting on a little notch on the railing, we had to make sure that the balcony above it was at the right height. So when we glued that on, while the glue was still wet for the second balcony, we installed these two figurines in the middle here to help hold that upper balcony at the right height. And of course we had rubber bands that were strapped around to hold everything while the glue dried. And then once the glue dried on the bottom one and the second one, we repeated that process the next day on the top balcony with these columns here. And we had to do a lot of grinding and fitting to get these to fit in there, not knowing if this was, the middle balcony was pushed in too far or cocked up too high. But it's up against the side of the ship like you would think it should be, and the pieces did fit in there with a little bit of adjusting and filing and fitting till we got them to work. So then after all three levels were dry, I did the other two figurines on the outside of these two bottom corners here, because I had rubber bands in the way at the time of the first glue up. I didn't have a way to put the other ones in, so I waited until the top balcony was done and dried before I installed these outer two figurines and glued them in and put a rubber band on them to hold them. So now that those are done, according to our plans, we have a whole bunch of brackets to put on. I think there's 3 brackets under this balcony, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 brackets under this balcony. And I'd have to change the screen on the prints to see about the bottom balcony, but the bottom of the back of the hull here is sort of, the way it turns up, it's sort of flush with the bottom of this balcony. So I don't think there's a bracket there, but that's the next step. And I think I'm going to use some regular quick drying super glue to do those brackets, because they're upside down the way they mount, and they'll have a tendency to fall off easy once you place them. So we have to make sure that the glue sets quickly, or we try to rig up something that will go in there and hold them up in place while they dry. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet, but the brackets are over here on the bench. So I think these are the 7 for the upper balcony, and these are the 3 for the middle balcony. And they've got a little number on them that tells us which one is which, because you can see they're at a little bit of an angle, and you wouldn't want to put one on the wrong side. This one goes in the middle. So we'll have to make sure when we get to the 7 that we're doing the right ones. And I always like to go ahead and look at what's next, but this is complicated enough in the last week's work that I just want to get these brackets on before I go ahead again and look at doing something else. So, okay, so we got the little brackets screwed on there. There's 7 of them there, and then there's 3 down here. One right there. And looking at the drawing on the CD, it looks like they have these figurines painted the same color as the yellow there. But all my figurines so far are gold. So other than these brackets and I got to look at the picture in the column, but these 2 pieces here that we added, we got one here and one here. We had to notch out a little bit of wood to get those in there right. But they're definitely blue with the yellow highlight on the edges. So we will do that there. But the brackets and the figurines down here, I'm going to do the gold. And that'll give me a little bit of contrast between the brass and the yellow and the blue. It's just really awkward. The only good thing about this gold is it really goes on nice on this pewter compared to other paints. And the camera's right where I want to get into this outer edge here. So as a modeler, you can always change up the way the directions call for certain things, certain colors, certain shapes. And we've been doing that pretty regular on this one, but not too often. And that gold does dry really nicely. So I will do the yellow and the blue on these. I think that's what here is also here, blue in the middle and then yellow on the sides. And at the same time with the yellow out, we'll be able to touch up a lot of these places that got nicked up a little bit while we're fighting. We're literally fighting for hours to get these balconies installed. But I think the gold is a nice contrast, especially when you got that gold color next to the brass and the yellow, and then the blue in the background. Really nice contrast. So instead of painting these yellow like I would assume that's what it's saying, that's what it looks like on the picture anyway, that they're yellow. You don't want to have too much paint on your brush, especially with this gold. It's like an oil base, so you got to be careful. And I'm sort of painting upside down, so when I do dip it in the paint, my paint is running back up the brush. So tell me in the comments what you think. Would you rather see these figurines as yellow like it looks like in the CD prints, or do you like the gold? I like the gold myself. And the being gold, they sort of stand out holding up this balcony, you know. They're different than all the other colors there, so let me get this brush cleaned up here. I think I'm done with the gold for now, and go ahead and get another brush and some blue, and we'll do the blue background first on these 4 pieces here, and then the yellow touch up last. Okay, the blue paint is dry. Now we're a little too much on that brush, but I got it all over my fingers off the bat. I got this bigger brush just to see if it's going to be a little better than the small one. You need lots of paint when you're painting over that Gorilla Glue. Get my little cup here. I want to pour some yellow out, because when I dip the brush into the bottle, the edge of the brush where my hand is at gets in the edge of the bottle. I'm trying to get enough on this side here that it'll actually sort of bleed into that front edge a little bit. There's a lot of touch-up to do with this yellow, so we'll be here for a little while doing this. That looks pretty good though. Foss is in here clawing around. So I don't know, on this edge here, I need a lot of paint, but I can't get it on that blue on the side of the ship. All these railings need a little touch up too. Some places I may have to go back. I'm gonna get that little brush here. So when I'm painting on that side, my hand is right in the way of the camera. So this is going to look pretty good when we get all this little fine detailed touch-up work done. As long as I don't get it over on that blue. So, just keep putting the color to it. Making it look pretty. You get the general idea, eh? Lots of looking and touching. So there's the speedy version of the Very tippy top of the mast, tying off the main shrouds. Get a knot at the beginning, go up and over, tie knot, and then wrap it to the middle rope on the other side, tie knot, and then go to the outside rope and tie another knot. Try to keep them all the same level, and then fish it up through this beam, this top crow's nest, and back over again, and put the super glue on this side before we feed it through and tie the last knot. So we've done that on all three masts. Got the very top shrouds tied in place. I cut these tails off when that glue dries. And we got the forward mast done, and we also laced up the last rat lines, the middle section of the mast. So all the middle sections are done except for back here on the rear mizzen. So now once that dries, I got to cut this board way down so it'll fit in here, and then we'll try to cut it down again. We might be able to say this is the same as up here, so we might be able to use the board 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places before we cut it down again to do the very tippy tops with the rat lines. Now I just finished that probably 10 minutes ago, and then started on these very tippy top ones. Get them done and out of the way. Of course, we got the rest of the decorations done on the back of the ship. See if I can pull this camera out here without. That came out nice. I do like the gold better after it's dried. Now it stands out against that yellow. Some gold figurines. So after the rat lines and shrouds are finished, which isn't a whole lot to do because there's such a small amount of rat lines left once we cut the board to fit the different areas. Just a matter of waiting for the glue to dry. We do have some stuff. Here's the back of the ship. We're pretty much done with that. So guess what? The next step after we finish rat lines is yard arms and a lot of rigging for the sails. So we got a bunch of yard arms to make up, stain up, and start rigging. Oh boy, that's a whole new project of yard arms and sails. And then I went even further in the plans to look what was after that, and it's more decorations, but these are on the side of the back of the ship near the rear. A lot of painting yellow and blue and gold. So this week, of course, we have 6 chickens, and this week for the first time on Tuesday and Thursday we got 5 eggs. The other days we got 4. So that means that 2 of these red hens are starting to lay eggs, which is good. 5 eggs a day, we'll be able to give some away. Won't have to worry about buying eggs, that's for sure. And of course, here in Florida, it's rainy season. The roof is done, solar panels are back on, making power. And it's raining almost every day. That's what happens in Florida in June and July and August. We get daily floods. Have to mow the grass every week. So we gotta let some places dry before we get ready for the next one. Did make good progress this week and all those decorations, and very painstaking painting and installation process. It was harder to install it than it was to paint it. A lot of fitting and grinding and testing and making sure once you get this in there, because when you stick this balcony in there, it'll flop up and down probably 10-15 degrees, and it has to be just the right height between this balcony and the upper balcony, and it does the same thing. Once you just stick it in there without glue on it, it'll flop around quite a bit, and the way those slots go into the back of the ship. So with that slop in there, we had to make sure that these things fit in there nice and snug, and the columns, before we glued it down and made it strap in place and dry. But we did it. It looks great. The new decorations that are after the yard-arms are big old pieces of pewter that go over here on the back of the ship, which we have it. Yeah, all those right there. Bunch of big pieces. So, thanks for watching.